Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Darryl Kanouse. He is the author of The Architect Way, Requirements for a Universal Framework. He is also the founder of Data Baller. Welcome to the show, Darryl.
Hi, Ajay. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome to the show, Darryl. You are welcome to India in this online form.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are talking about. We'll be talking about the future of technology development. So, my first question to you, Darryl, is to understand nowadays when we talk of technology, it almost everything is around artificial intelligence. Is that what technology is all about? Is that what technology will be all about going forward? First, let's understand this especially from a common person's perspective, small business perspective, and then we'll take in other questions.
Sure. So I'll say, my perspective is that artificial intelligence is a tool set. It's a set of tools that we can incorporate into our technologies, but we still build technology for a purpose. We have a business to run. We need, back-end enterprise systems to manage our payroll. We, want to go into business to consumers, and we want to offer them, maybe a photo sharing site. AI is a great tool to help accelerate development. It's a great tool to help, resolve open questions. And there's some great coding support that you can get with AI tools. But technology, at least as of today, is still a matter of it's an architecture, it's a system, it's code that needs to be written, it's systems that need to integrate and talk to each other. AI is going to be a part of that for sure, and it's going to open up a bunch of doors for new innovation. But I don't think you're ever going to get away, or at least not in the near term, you're not going to get away from needing to have core architecture principles and good software development and those kind of skills.
Right. What does that mean? What does that mean? We are not going to you talk about harmonizing technology and universal principles. Is that happening right now, or it is a utopian idea that whose idea will not come, but we will continue to talk about it, especially in the backdrop of what has happened in open AI and all that drama almost for everyone in the world to see.
Right. Yeah. So I think they could definitely use a little harmony and balance over there at OpenAI for sure. Well, my the premise of the book that I wrote recently, and what I've been advocating for now for a couple of years, is an approach to technology development that is balanced, that is embraces simplicity, respects the interconnected nature of all of our systems, and allows them to be adaptable so that they can grow. Technology innovation is moving so quickly. Building systems that can adapt and support those integrations is really a critical step. I think nowadays it's happening, and it's happening in large part enabled by frameworks that are being put out there that can help accelerate a lot of the development, where they come with pre-built tools and best practices and guidelines that are already in place. And so that's definitely helpful for a lot of developers. I would still say, though, that underneath all of that, it's important to remember why we're building our software. We're still human beings that leverage technology for our human purposes, and that balance and simplicity that we want to have in our own lives is something that we should also see reflected in the technology systems that we develop.
Right, Darryl. Help us understand. You harmonizing technology, that part is understandable. What about the universal principles? What universal principles are you talking? If you can break that down for us, general audience, and what you actually talk about, that technology and universal principles should come together. Help us understand this a bit.
For sure. So, in the same way that software development frameworks help people when they're developing software because they provide a set of best practices and guidelines, below that, I'm proposing a universal framework, which we can apply not only to how we build and think about technology systems, but we can take home in our personal lives and just lead more authentic lives in how we, approach things. The book that I've recently written is an adaptation of the Tao Te Ching, and it uses Taoist principles as the foundation for thinking about universal principles that can apply to technology development as well. Taoist approach probably isn't the only one. I can imagine that there's other ways to do it, but the Taoist one is really useful because it talks about ideas that are applicable in so many different aspects of how we build technology. Uh, in particular, the principles that come out are about interconnectedness, adaptability, balance, and simplicity. And so when we think about approaching our technology initiatives, let's just say, for example, let's think about balance. How much time do we want to spend on technical debt versus new features? By keeping in mind core principles as a framework for how we develop, we can remember to ask ourselves questions as we go through our technology efforts. Ask ourselves questions that'll help make that stuff go faster, better, and produce higher quality stuff. The main thing that I think is the benefit that comes from bringing a set of principles and a philosophy to your technology development, the biggest benefit is that over time, these things will start to turn into an instinct. And great software developers who innovate and who think about what's next and are really ahead of the curve, they have really well-defined instincts and can really see and identify when a particular application will bring harmony to a system, for example, or when there's simplicity is the order of the day and there's ways to optimize. And by starting with a set of core principles that you can think of almost like a checklist, the more you repeat that, the more it starts to become apparent just visibly as instinct. And so that's really what I think is the value in taking something like the Tao Te Ching, these kind of ancient wisdom ideas, because they do resonate with us almost at an instinctual level, and they also have the parallels that we can apply to our technology development.
Right, Darryl. Nice ideas. In fact, you have come out with a nice idea. You talk about great software developers. Who are these great software developers? Have these developers, do they know about this thing called, Tao's approach to 400 BC, and in present time they are always looking towards the future. Have they heard even about it, that they will come to implement it? You have been in worked in great places, and now you
Yeah.
are having your own company. You understand this. You are a well educated person. You have read it.
Mm.
You are one of the few people. How will they even get started with it? People are looking towards the future, making almost like giving us a scenario that it will be the humanoids and all those things that will come into the future. Why will they invoke something from 400 BC? Is it a utopian idea? How do they get started? Even if somebody is serious about it and wants to get started, how will they actually get down to getting started in their organizations? Is there a future for it? I know I would love to have this future where all these things is,
Yeah.
technology is around human beings, and human beings are not, some focus, are not revolving around technology. Help us understand, that's why
Right.
I asked this in this manner.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very practical benefit that you can get from thinking in this way about these principles. And even though that they were reflected in a book like the Tao Te Ching, which was written, as you mentioned, 400 years BC and have been around for millennia, you can still distill them down into principles that are eternal, that they'll continue to last. So one of the ways in which I think this stuff can be practically applied is when using it to inform your decision making as a part of your technology development. And so I'll give you just a quick example. I've worked at two different companies recently that had entirely different cultures. I worked at Amazon for a while, and then later I worked at Canva, the graphic design company. Their internal cultures were completely different. At Amazon, they were very buttoned up, very document oriented and process oriented, whereas at Canva, it was much more freewheeling and driven by the passions of the owners and their vision and how they push things forward. And so I found that for myself, I had a bit of a cultural whiplash. I was a little bit of like, going from one organization into the next organization with two different ways of doing things entirely. And I found that in order for me to really rest on to add the most value and to continue to express the skills and do the kind of software development that I was accustomed to, thinking about the adaptability as a priority and a core virtue in the systems that we were building. That's universal, and that applied in both situations. And so I could say to the organizations that I was working with, does your API, is it flexible? Is it well documented? We could talk about stuff like simplicity, where I could ask in both situations, it's a fair question to say, where's the value in the features that we're bringing? This is especially true for product managers and folks who are thinking about how to prioritize features and how to bring things to market. Going through that short list of is it connected? Have I considered the connections? Is it adaptable to whatever may come down in the future? Are we balanced in our approach? Are we both secure but also available for users to get to their data? Is it simple? Is it really focused on the things that are delivering value as a part of our system? And so when you bring those into just in a practical terms, if you're running an agile process and you've got a sprint board and sprint planning and going through tickets and a backlog, that's a great opportunity to pause and ask yourself, these kind of principled questions. Are we in balance? Are we over indexing on something where we're not getting a lot of value? And so that's really the best place to start. And then as you start to employ some of these tactics, you'll get the feedback. You'll see that simple systems do work better. You can get to market faster. You can get feedback faster. And then the data will start to verify and validate that this approach will create better software with less technical debt, and you can move faster. So yeah.
Right, Darryl. Let's understand it a bit from your book's, perspective. Who is this book for? Why did you write that book? I understand it, but I want to hear from you for the audience. And help us understand in this backdrop, what have you dealt in this book? As I said, who is this book for?
Yeah.
And have you also talked about small businesses who can implement such things? Because as they say, the earlier you start, the better you can implement it.
Yeah.
What tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book is actually an adaptation of the Tao Te Ching. And so the Tao Te Ching being the Taoist book that describes the nature of the universe and how to be good and virtuous in that universe. It uses metaphorical language. It's very poetic, and there's 81 chapters. So what I did was I took those 81 chapters and I translated the language into the language of technology, so that instead of talking about the flow of the river and the wise man watching the flow of the river, we're talking about data and the way data flows from a central data repository and into and downstream to other systems. And so what comes across in doing that is you'll start to recognize how those core principles, what the lens of those core principles does to technology development and thinking in technology terms. So for example, there's a number of chapters which reference documentation. Documentation is critical. Simple documentation is better. Over indexing and spending too much time on your documentation is not going to be great, because your application is going to evolve over time and you're going to have to go back and update your documentation. So keep it simple. Those kinds of ideas, I think, are universal for whether you're a big company or a small company getting started. Just recognizing that the areas of development that need to be addressed, how to approach them in a balanced way, how to identify value through simplicity, and how to recognize the kinds of things you should be thinking about for the future in terms of interconnectedness and adaptability. So the book is it has that same sort of poetic stanza kind of reading, and it mirrors very much the same lessons in the original Tao Te Ching. But again, it's using, it talks about databases instead of lakes and that kind of stuff. So
right. I don't know how much that is being implemented in the Chinese system of their software development, because a lot of issues are arising out of TikToks and so many other issues. How do you see that?
Yeah, no, that's probably true. I think the book is geared towards product managers, business folks, and it also has some technical individual software developers can get some value out of it, but it's not very detailed in terms of specific database platforms. It's talking about more generic from an architecture perspective. And it's true that you can see evidence in such many of the big companies where they may have internal harmony, but the influence of their product is not necessarily producing a lot of harmony in the world. And so, yeah, TikTok, is a great example. To be honest, I did write the book thinking that this was needed in lots of places. I think it's missing in a bunch of organizations. Thinking about balance and thinking about the human component to to technology and our role in technology and our relationship to technology. So I think it's something we need.
Absolutely, absolutely. I too believe that, and I hope that more and more companies, organizations, countries also, in case they are closed systems, they also understand this, so that technology actually works in favor of humanity. I want to understand in terms of technology. A lot of when we talk about software development nowadays, we get more about tools related to social media, how you can create more filters, how you can write social media posts quicker, how you can write a blog post quicker, how you can write a artificial book quicker. All these things are around just. Is that software development all about, or is there more to software development? What more is happening in software development? How does a common person understand that there is so much else is happening with regards to all the good things related to our life?
Yeah, it's true that there's a whole economy of software development that's built as kind of peripheral components to the big social media players and the big technology players. Amazon, for example, there's an entire economy of software developers who build tools to integrate with Amazon so that you can sell your products faster, so you can manage your listings, and I think that will always be a part of software development, where especially now, where we can have these enormous platforms that serve millions of folks. There are and millions of people using them. They'll have needs to optimize things, and individuals will recognize opportunities to write code that can support those. But those aren't really where innovation is going to come from. You're not going to get a true innovation. Isn't going to be because you found a new TikTok filter that makes your head look like a horse or whatever. Like, that stuff isn't really what the future is about. And so, the core areas around education. Can we teach our kids in a better, faster way? Someone's going to innovate in that area. Somebody's going to build some technology that's going to really revolutionize how we think about education and in the classroom or out of the classroom, perhaps, whatever that might look like. Someone's going to build, software to address, distribution of energy in a way that is more efficient and more cost effective. And so those kinds of big challenges will be addressed. There'll be a market for those, but they take longer, and they're bigger, and they but that's really where the innovation is going to come from. And so, despite all the fact that there's all these other kind of software builders building these kind of peripheral things, the real big movers are going to be addressing the real big problems and providing big solutions to those.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a lot of good hope for all of us, that actually will bring a real sort of innovation. Tell us a bit about your company, Data Baller. What exactly is this all about? And what are you doing down there? Or what is this, so that people who are interested may also connect with you in that regard?
Yeah, so Data Baller is a product development company focused on consumer engagement technology, which means we have a set of APIs that consumers or that companies can use to personalize experiences for their customers. So if you've got a big catalog of products and you want to be able to optimize the presentation of those items so that you can make recommendations for users. That's really what the core product is that we've built today. It is using the principles that we were talking about, about balance and simplicity. Definitely, the company's embodying all those principles as best we can, and so we're really just focused on the core value proposition, which is a set of APIs that you can integrate regardless of what your system is, and we can optimize decision making in your system so that you can either you can recommend products, you can recommend other digital goods, that kind of stuff. And so that's really what we're focused on, is finding ways to improve a customer experience and offering it as a service for other software developers who may want to improve the customer experience in the systems that they're building.
Absolutely. There is so much to learn about technology, but I guess at the moment, machines are learning much more faster about us than we are learning about them.
That might be true. Yeah.
Right. So be that as it may, if people want to know more about you, from you, and connect with you with regards to your Data Baller company, what is the best way for them to do so?
So I can be reached at LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn at Darryl Kanouse. You can find me there, and I love connecting with folks. The databaller.com is where you'll find my company and our products. And then The Architect Way, the name of the book. If you go to thearchitectway.com, it'll redirect you to Amazon where you can get the book. And so, those are the main ways to get to me and my stuff.
Right. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.